Hey everyone, Gallifrey Forever 97 here. Welcome to today's video. We're going to be doing a recap of all the past companions of the new series, looking at their introduction stories, how they got involved with the Doctor's life. So a recap to set up Dan, which is a new companion being played by John Bishop later this year. No confirmed air date, but late 2021. This is sort of a sequel video to a video I did last year where I rated the top 5 possible exits for Ryan and Graham's departure, looking at what possible options they could have left in before the special aired. And this time we'll be looking at all the different companions of the new series. I won't be including any of like the one-off companions or kind of short stayish ones, and obviously the classic series as well, as it might be a very long video considering how many companions we've had over the years. So let's just be concentrating on the main full-time companions of the modern era. So kicking off we have Rose, who debuted in series 1 episode 1. Rose, fittingly named. When we first meet Rose, she's this kind of very mundane routine, getting up, going to work, meeting up with her boyfriend. We kind of get a sense of her life. She's 19, she's left school with no qualifications, and she's working in this retail shop, which is where she meets the Doctor, telling her to run. After that little adventure, he blows up the shop, and she's really intrigued, like who was he, what happened in this short space of time, so much happened, and she goes out through the episode, trying to investigate, find out who he is. At the end of the episode, she saved the day from the Autons with the Doctor. When he initially meets her, he's very on the defence, obviously due to the stuff with the Time War. Post that, kind of just wants to be this like lonely survivor. But then at the end, he changes his mind, offers her to go in space, but she says no. I've got my boyfriend here, which Mickey's just there being just a mess after the events, but she's got a call. So he goes, comes back, and then says time travel as well. And she's up for it, and that's how the journey started. Mickey, who was a mechanic and lived with his gran until she passed away, obviously went stuck on Earth after Rose left, and obviously when she comes back, it's been a very long time. Mickey's not really in the Doctor's life. Obviously his relationship with Rose kind of falls apart due to her being sort of durations long away with the Doctor. But when series 2 comes around, he's starting to become a bit more involved with school reunions and some alien investigation stuff, and finds out about the Krillitane. The Doctor and Rose join, but also meet Sarah Jane, and Sarah Jane kind of gives this boost of confidence to Mickey. There's this kind of realisation that he's kind of like a spare part, notices K9 and kind of parallels like, oh my god, I'm the Tin Dog. But at the end of the story, he does ask to come. He asks himself, so can I come along? And the Doctor's like, yeah, but Rose is a bit like, okay. I think she's quite used to the kind of life of being just with the Doctor. And this obviously lasts a few episodes until he decides to stay on the parallel Earth to help defeat the Cybermen, to go on his own journey of self-discovery. But it takes him a while to kind of say, yeah, I want to join the TARDIS, and then quickly jumps out. Next we have Captain Jack Harkness, the time agent from the 51st century, who also made his appearance again in the most recent episode of Doctor Who, Revolution of the Daleks. So we meet Captain Jack in The Empty Child and the Doctor Dances, where he's a con man set in World War II, and obviously he kind of kicks off the episode with the Empty Child and the nano genes. But once he realises the mistake he's made, he is quite quickly to kind of self-sacrifice himself actually at the end. For his actions, for what he's done, and obviously to kind of save everyone with the bomb going off, he's decided to self-sacrifice himself, but the Doctor's done none of that, and obviously invites him on board, leading to his immortal life and many more adventures with the Doctor coming and going throughout the years. Next is Donna Noble, companion to the 10th Doctor, who we first meet in The Runaway Bride, with a shot cliffhanger from Doomsday where she just appears in the TARDIS in a wedding dress. She's literally put into the TARDIS. There's no kind of like coincident meeting. Obviously this kind of story goes on to interline with the 10th Doctor's destiny, with her journey, Wilf's, and obviously she does get a reintroduction in Partners in Crime, when after the end of this story she is enjoying it. She sees like what the destruction the Doctor can cause, with him sort of committing genocide with the Arachnos, and in that moment obviously it's been like a hell of a rush of like just meeting him and doing all this stuff. But when she says no, we find out later on in series 4, Partners in Crime, she regretted that decision, and she coincidentally just stumbles across the Doctor again, just showing that the 10th Doctor and Donna's journey is intertwined, obviously leading to the series 4 finale with the Doctor Donna. Martha Jones met the Doctor in a very timey-wimey way, which we'll see a lot more later on when we get into like the Moffat era companions. But she's a trainee doctor working at the Royal Hope Hospital. One day she wants to work, and this strange man comes up, takes over his time, and says, "Time traveller, see?" And she's obviously very like, what? And obviously that's the Doctor from the end of the episode. But when she meets the Doctor again, he's a resident in the hospital as he's investigating the Jadoon, looking for a prisoner inside the hospital, and they transport the hospital to the moon. Martha does some very heroic stuff, self-sacrificing herself to save the Doctor, who then in return saves the people in the hospital and her. By the end, she's done some family drama as well. The Doctor offers her one trip in the TARDIS, just one, but due to the recent loss of Rose, he's very kind of like, I don't want to sort of travel with anyone again. Boys gets to know they go to many different adventures in the past and the future. Professor River's Song was introduced in Series 4 in Silence of the Library. From her point it was the end, but for the Doctor it was the beginning. In the story she's the archaeologist investigating the library, obviously all the missing people. She knows the Doctor from way in the future, obviously the Doctor knows her none at all, and there's a very nice throwaway line where one of the people there says, "Oh, you're arguing like a married couple," which is obviously hinting stuff later to come. Even though River Song's not really a companion, obviously she is the Doctor's wife, and obviously child to future companions Amy and Rory, and of course they have on and off adventures through the 10th Doctor to the 12th Doctor era. So even though this story does see the end of River Song, it's actually the beginning for the Doctor. As she says, there's all still waiting for you, all of time and space.
You watch us run.
Now into the Moffat era with the mother of River Song, Amy Pond. So Amelia meets the 11th Doctor when he's just regenerated and crashes her into her shed when she's a little girl. The Doctor suddenly rushes off after the investigation with the crack in her wall. That's the only adventure she has, and then all the people in Ledworth and the little village she lives, including Rory, obviously she's made these stories about the Doctor. Everybody thinks she's a bit crazy because I was thinking like, has she made this stuff up? But many years later, in 2010, the Doctor returns. Obviously, for him it's only been like 5 minutes, but her it's been like 12 years. She helps him to defeat Prisoner Zero and then the Atraxi, who are after Prisoner Zero. He then goes off again to do a test flight, and then there's another 2 years. So from the first time she met him as a little girl to the point where he offers her to come along with him in the TARDIS has been 14 years. Little did the Doctor know that this is the night before Amy's meant to get married to Rory Williams, who'd be next on this list. She's kind of had this opportunity to be like, oh my god, I can put this on pause, this scary future endeavour to go on adventures with the Doctor from my childhood. So Rory was also in the 11th hour, where he's a nurse in the hospital where Prisoner Zero is getting their faces from to disguise themselves from the Atraxi. He doesn't join the Doctor's adventures until very later on. Obviously he kind of meets the Doctor in the 11th hour, and then 2 years go by and he does some kind of digging about the Doctor before the Doctor pops up on his stag do and lets him know that Amy has kissed him. So Doctor takes him on a trip to Venice to kind of repair the marriage. But from that point on, apart from dying quite a few numerous times, Rory joins the 11th Doctor and Amy for adventures in time and space. Next, a companion of the 11th Doctor and the 12th Doctor, we have Clara Oswin Oswald, who has 3 introductions. The first one is Asylum of the Daleks, where we meet her as Oswin. We find out that she's a Dalek the whole time and dies. Then we meet her in The Snowmen, where she is a Victorian nanny. She then dies at the end of that. And then we meet the real original one, which is Clara Oswin Oswald from modern day in The Bells of St. John, where she is a nanny, but a modern day nanny, not a Victorian one. We also find at the end of the series that she'd gone back into the Doctor's own time stream to prevent someone else from destroying his life, so she went back and saved every little point in his timeline, wibbly-wobbly stuff. Bit like River's Song, like he knows about Clara, but he's obviously trying to work out who she is. She has no idea. Well, this is the first encounter she has with the Doctor before the events that are going to happen later on in the series. So after an adventure with the Doctor, with the Wi-Fi and the Great Intelligence, Doctor offers her to come along with him. She finds it quite funny because she's a bit like, is this how it usually works? Like you just sort of point your fingers and like everybody just comes with you. So she's kind of changed it a bit and says, oh no, you're going to pick me up at a later date at this time next week. So it's quite a funny way to jump on board the TARDIS. But yeah, obviously she goes on for many important things through the 50th, Listen, where she meets the child version of the Doctor. She's very kind of integral part within the Doctor's life, going through to the 12th Doctor era. So once Clara sadly dies, and then River Song dies, after 24 years on Darillium with the Doctor, we then get Nardole. We meet Nardole in The Husbands of River Song, where he's working for River Song, where River's trying to get a diamond out of the head of King Hydroflax, which is a massive robot with a human head. Sadly, Nardole doesn't make it past this. He gets his head beheaded and put in the machine with many other different heads from the story. By the end of that, he's just chilling within the robot. And then obviously when the 24 years pass, the Doctor reassembles Nardole after he's lost River Song. But River Song has one last trick up her sleeves where the Doctor's about to execute Missy. Nardole comes to kind of stop him from doing that, and from the instructions of his deceased wife. So Doctor stops and he makes an oath to protect the vault, which Missy is kept in like a prison for 1,000 years. So whilst the Doctor is protecting the vault in this university on Earth, Nardole's kind of his keeper, like stopping him from getting into trouble, which is when he meets Bill Potts. Bill Potts served chips at the University of Bristol. The Doctor had like an interest in her. He liked the way that she smiled. Whilst working there, she attended some of the Doctor's lectures, and the Doctor kind of sourced her out. He wanted to kind of push her to do greater things, so he became kind of a personal tutor, which goes very well until there's a time-travelling puddle involved, which takes on the form of her crush Heather. Once they manage to escape the pilot, for now, the pilot does obviously come back in the finale. The Doctor's about to wipe her memory, because obviously he has to stay on Earth to protect the vault. But before he's about to wipe her memory, she says to him, "How would you feel if it was done to you?" He has no realisation at this point, but obviously he has his own memory wiped of Clara, the previous companion. So he kind of uses to build an excuse and invites her on board the TARDIS to go on many adventures against Nardole's protest, who his main concern is the vault with Missy locked in. He eventually comes round and they become a very hilarious trio, with the 12th Doctor, Bill and Nardole travelling through time and space until the end of Series 10. Now we're up to date with the 13th Doctor era and the trio of companions Graham, Yaz and Ryan. So after the regeneration of the 13th Doctor, she crashes into a train in Sheffield where Graham, Yaz and Ryan, all of them are going to merge onto this train due to the circumstances of a weird alien thing in Sheffield. Graham was a bus driver who sadly had cancer and had treatment where he met Grace, which was Ryan's grandmother. But Ryan had this kind of resentment initially towards him. Ryan worked in a warehouse. He didn't know kind of what to do with his life. Similar to Yaz, she is a police officer, and even though the police force is obviously quite an exciting, dangerous thing, she wanted to do more. So you all unite, meeting the 13th Doctor. All of them save the day of Sheffield from Tim Shaw, who's on a hunting spree. But sadly, Grace, who's Graham's wife and Ryan's grandmother, dies in the process after doing something very dangerous to save the day. So they're all kind of in grieving together and they all kind of unite through that. But when the Doctor goes to find the TARDIS, unfortunately, they go with her into deep space. They kind of have no choice. They're just sort of flung into the Doctor's life. And once they go on an adventure in the Ghost Monument and Rosa in the past, and once they get back to Earth in Arachnis in the UK, they decide that once they've had a taste of his life, Graham wants to escape his grief, Ryan and Yaz kind of want to do more with their lives, so they become Team TARDIS, or the Fam, and go on many adventures through to the end of Series 12. Which brings us now up to date with the end of Series 12, Revolution of the Daleks, where Graham and Ryan have left the TARDIS to go save Earth using the psychic papers. So it's just Yaz and the 13th Doctor travel around time and space, and at some point in the future they will stumble across Dan, played by John Bishop, coming later in 2021. So I hope you enjoyed this video, giving a recap of all the introductions of the companions, whether it be a very traditional one or a timey-wimey one. Let me know in the comment section below what your favourite companion introductions, stories or moments are. As always, you can comment, like and subscribe, and you can also follow me on Facebook, Twitter, Instagram. Links to the social media stuff in the description below. But as always, thank you very much for watching, and until next time, bye bye!